Joined by Brett Taveau, author of Unpacking Greatness, a Chiefs book you can find on Amazon. Brett, the Chiefs fall to the Bengals 27-24. One of the biggest plays of the game was this 3rd and 3 where Patrick Mahomes gets sacked. We wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on this one and get into the details because there were a lot on this play and showing maybe why it wasn't as successful as it could have been on what was a game-changing moment.
Yeah, and I think just overall, you saw a lot of the themes that have plagued the Chiefs against the Bengals the last two times kind of showed up at the wrong time yesterday. So, but the Chiefs here start. They if you could turn that back to the start. Sorry, they're in a trips bunch set here, 3-by-1, and they're going to use, as you have noted there, return motion to give Mahomes a little bit of an indicator. The Bengals do such a great job. And I think it was Dan Orlovsky last week. I saw on Twitter. He's on NFL Live, I think, on ESPN. And he broke down 3 clips of the Bengals and how they do such a great job of making everything look the same pre-snap and then giving you all sorts of different looks post-snap. He broke down 3. It looked exactly the same pre-snap. And then one was a 6-man pressure with cover 0 behind it. One was a one high zone structure. I think they cover 3. And then the other one was a cover 2 drop 8 scenario. So, they just make it really difficult to be able to get any sort of cues pre-snap.
And something to remember here, they had blitzed a lot, cover 0 early on. That's something Andy Reid actually said after the game is that, last we heard all about the drop 8 and everything. Well, early on, the Bengals had blitzed the Chiefs a bunch, and Patrick Mahomes made him pay a few times. So looks like pressure here, but as we're about to see, that's not exactly what happens on this play in the fourth quarter.
Right. So the return motion's used. Okay. It's a pretty good indicator that it's zone coverage, but Mahomes is going to, do something with the protection. I don't know if it's a dummy call or what, and then he's going to move, as you have illustrated there, he's going to move McKinnon up to help with any sort of interior man pressure, put him in a little bit better position, move him up to pick up any sort of Mike blitz, which they do a good job of showing.
Real quick here, Brett, if the tell is zone coverage, wouldn't that be less likely there would be a blitz here? Is that something that maybe is going through Patrick Mahomes' mind or not?
Yeah, possibly. Although, a lot of teams, have fire zone packages where they do bring a 5-man pressure and play 3 deep, 3 under behind it, 2 deep, 4 under, any sort of 6-man combination on the back while still being able to bring 5.
Yeah, because when we saw Noah Gray went in motion, nobody followed him. So looking like zone coverage on this one. And again, harder to bring pressure. Usually you have to put man behind that. So let's go along with this play. And sure enough, the Bengals do their old favorite, like the AFC Championship game. They drop 8.
Yeah, so there's your drop 8, which, of course, I think it extends the timeline. But the Bengals, as we'll see, they do a really good job scheming a one-on-one here. We'll look at it when we get to the end zone angle. But, that drop 8 is just – it's difficult. It restricts space on the back end. And here they're going to play, as you have, they got to spy on Mahomes because Mahomes' ability to pull it down and make something happen with his legs. And they're going to play Tampa 2 behind it, which is really, really difficult. So you basically, if you count the spy, which he is kind of a pass defender until Mahomes at least commits to run, you've got a 5 under 3 deep coverage, essentially, if you count that Mike who's dropping back to play in that middle of field void in Tampa 2.
Yeah, and real quick, Tampa 2, what you're talking about is you see that back half of the middle. That's the middle linebacker. That's what the Tampa 2 is running that linebacker back to cover the deep middle there to make sure that's protected. And we talk so much about, hey, the Chiefs didn't have answers to this test last year. They didn't have answers to this. What you're about to show us, Brett, is that this particular play, they actually had 2 potential answers to this drop 8.
Yeah, and obviously pressure is going to kill it, as we're going to see. But you have Kelsey here, who's going to, he's basically going to run this search route, and he sees that Mike Backer run and play Tampa. He's going to sit, so he's going to be an option, as well as. If you continue with the tape here, you've got a smash concept, which is a cover 2 beater, essentially, because you've got a vertical stretch, as you have noted on this corner here. And so you've got a flat route by Gray, and then MVS does a really good job of running this corner route and then flattening it based on the safety's leverage. The
So
safety's got inside hips there. There's no way he's going to be able to get back out and cover
so
that.
the white is where he could go, basically up the field. That's running into the safety. And so much of what we talk about the Chiefs offense is, the squiggly lines of the playbook. And so looking at the coverage and adjusting based off that. So we see MBS see the coverage in front of him, break it off more toward the sideline. And as we're about to see, he breaks pretty open on this one.
He does, yeah, absolutely. And that corner has a chance to sink under that possibly and make a play on it. But in this situation against this drop 8, I think that's as big a window you're going to find. And with somebody, with the ability to layer the ball like Mahomes, I think if he would have been able to read it out and he didn't like to throw to Kelsey, that he would have been able to throw right in that red area you got highlighted there.
Yeah, and so again, we talk about the search route and Kelsey. Again, what makes Kelsey and Mahomes so dangerous is that Kelsey, Chris Collinsworth talks about him playing sort of at half speed, but he reads defenses, he finds open spots in the zone. That's what he's wanting to do here, and he finds it. And then the Chiefs on the bottom, they are putting that stretch on the defender down there. What you're running, this route concept, they call it smash, to try to put that cornerback in conflict. He's in conflict there. Do you want to leave the guy in the flat and give up an easy first down? Or do you want to, come and get him and leave the throw over the top? And it really does look like the Chiefs have a couple options here, but the pressure, the 3-man pressure gets there immediately and turns this thing into a scramble drill.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see it from the end zone. Possibly it's the Bengals do a good job of scheming. It looks like the one-on-ones where Brown is one-on-one with the D in there to the field, while then you got two bodies that were two bodies on each of the other two rushers. So two double teams and one-on-one, and that one-on-one ends up getting beat and really ruining the whole play.
Yeah, one final thing I want to point out here, and this is kind of something interesting when we talk about the details. Creed Humphrey is a guy, center for the Chiefs, usually pretty low-key. Don't see much emotion out of him, kind of just steady Eddie. If you watch him at the end of this play, you see the show of emotion there. And so remember, Nick Allegretti is the left guard here. He's subbing in for Joe Thuney, who had started every other game of his career up until 2 games ago when he sat out with an ankle injury. He was kind of a surprise scratch in this one as well. So let's just watch this from the beginning. You kind of see Allegretti, again, Mahomes calls out the protection or potentially trying to help out there. But we see as Allegretti goes to help Creed Humphrey, he kind of turns his head around to watch the defender go by Orlando Brown. And again, we don't know the exact protection here, but something goes awry here that makes Creed Humphrey upset, and obviously leads to this 3-man pressure getting home and potentially ruining what would have been a big play for the Chiefs at a crucial moment.
Yeah, that is very possible. Yeah. That Allegretti should have helped Brown on his inside. Now that you bring that up, it could have been a call or something where Creed, could make, a solo call, and then Allegretti would
right here. You see his head turn right there. He's kind of looking down. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yep.
The only other thing I want to bring up, Brett, you talk so much about this. We've talked about Trey Smith previously on here as well, how he always finds some work to do. You know what I mean? Find somebody to help. And so that would have been a tough block for Nick Allegretti to get back to, once he committed to the middle. But again, that's the sort of thing when we talk it out and point out when Trey Smith does help in those situations, these are the sorts of things that maybe you clean up that never become a problem. And obviously some sort of miscommunication or something that went awry with the Chiefs to allow this 3-man pressure to get home.
Yep. So that whenever you're just protecting 5-man and those linemen are responsible for 2 gaps or having to do a read and things like that. I mean, it happens, and props to Cincinnati for scheming something up to be able to get a good pass rusher in a one-on-one and be able to win in a drop 8 situation.
Well, again, the Chiefs tried a 55-yard field goal after this, did not make it, and Cincinnati ends up winning 27-24. So a big moment in the game, but as we see, a pretty good play call, potentially a couple guys open, but everything breaks down when there's pressure. Cincinnati was able to get enough pressure against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on Sunday. That's going to be it for the details. Thanks, Brett. I appreciate your time and appreciate all you guys checking out the details here at the Kansas City Star.